Now that we are back, welcome back to some more Stormworks. I'm StormRunner Gaming, and today we are back on the Harrison Air Base, and I have for you guys the fastest ever clocked land vehicle in Stormworks, production vehicle that is. You guys ready for this reveal? It's the Hammett crane truck. Okay, that was just a big joke for you guys, but aside from the Hammett crane truck up on its stilts right here, underneath this black curtain or black box, whatever you want to call it, I have my brand new supercar. So let's jump right into our crane back here, and we can lift that veil up and reveal the brand new car. So lift it up, and we're gonna hit 6 to push it out. Oh, the box is freaking out a fair bit. All right. But we can get that squared away right there and then jump back out. All right, and presenting for the first time ever, the SRG GV30, my brand new supercar in Stormworks. And I know that does kind of sound like a printer, kind of like the McLaren supercars with all their letters and numbers, but there's a good reason behind all the letters and numbers. I'm gonna flip the ignition on real quick just to get it out of the way of the crane. We'll talk about all the dials and the cool weird things in the interior in a second here. I'm gonna start, just with the name of the vehicle here. This is the SRG for StormRunner Gaming. I've named a few of my cars that way just because it's my name. And the G stands for gray, that beautiful mundane color I've slapped on the edge of this car, the exterior. Then the V30, version 30, or 30 RPS. And this little segment here is we're gonna gripe for a second or just be annoyed at the Stormworks devs, I guess. Just because I originally planned to take this modular engine, which if you guys heard that, clattering from the back end here, we have that huge modular engine on the back end. Yeah, I originally wanted that modular engine to be going at 60 RPS, but I failed that battle for, one or two good reasons. One being fuel efficiency, and the bigger one, which I really didn't care about fuel efficiency because it was a supercar or a fast sports vehicle here. I really couldn't put it to 60 RPS just because of temperature. I couldn't get anything to go more than 5 or 6 miles without the entire car overheating. So I had to drop it all the way down to 30 RPS. But as I'm circling around, you guys will realize I've done a little bit of styling, and that's where I'm going to start. Although I fought for a little while with designing little edges and stuff for the front of the car, this is where I ended up putting it. I don't think it's 100% there, but for my designing, I think the front end of the vehicle looks pretty darn good, all things considered. I added that little dip. It's got the license plate, some pretty good lights, and the wheels don't look half horrible in their wells there. Moving on to the back, there's a lot of aerodynamic trickery and stuff like in real life cars. We have this little air pocket dip where usually a lot of modern cars would have radiators and stuff. In the Stormworks world, though, radiators aren't that small to be put in there. If we had a 1x3 radiator or something and actual airflow, I could have put a radiator in that spot. Moving back, we see a pretty large wheel well for that, and the really nice back end of this vehicle with those dual lights on there, dual tipped exhaust for that V8 engine, backup camera, that license plate, and the piece de resistance, that big 5x3x1 modded window to show off that big V8 engine that is at a 45-degree angle, 45-degree tilt. So that's something I really wanted to show off with this supercar here. Moving back along to the other side, there are a couple other little small details I like to throw in here, like a window on the side end there. And I tried to get the real life kind of car style with the roof and the angled windows going up there, which I hopefully kind of succeeded at. It's not all too bad there. I'm pretty, hyped for the design, pretty happy with where I got the exterior of the vehicle here. And of course, this being one of my vehicles, as we go out of the like showroom camera there, you realize pretty quickly that there's a lot of logic stuck just about everywhere I could fit it. Because not only this being one of the faster vehicles I've ever built, it's actually not the fastest top speed. That was a little bit of a bluff for you guys, but I mean, SRG GV30 is the fastest production vehicle I've ever made. This being the V30 version, sadly, it's only got a top speed of 130 miles an hour. So let's go into the interior. I mean, you can see the engine from in here as well. I did leave a little bit of a window. I mean, that also kind of helps when you're trying to back up. You can see through that window and through the rear window, but I do have another trick up my sleeve for reversing once we turn this guy on. When you drop it into reverse, if you just hold S, that backup camera shows up on the screen there. But before we start going here, let's actually go through a couple of the things inside. I did do a lot of paint work for, you know, speakers and the doors and stuff, adding in a little bit of weird, different kind of artistic paint here and there. And, you know, I went with a more minimalistic style on buttons. A lot of the stuff is built into either automatic systems or this little screen right here. Going through, you got your temperature gauge, gas gauge, your speedometer, your... oh, I'll just edit the word in for whatever that is. You have the odometer and you have the battery gauge, as well as whenever your car has any problems or anything, the designer of this, you know, gauge cluster here actually did put in all the warnings for the vehicles as well. The only thing I changed with this was putting in a little designed thing right here to tell you you're in drive, or when you flick it into manual gear, it'll tell you what manual gear you're in as you row up and down all 6 gears here. All right, putting that back into drive. You guys may be wondering what this screen is here with a couple letters, and this is some of my Lua genius. Now, I actually have to give credit to my dad for helping me program this thing right here, but really what I wanted to do was the license plate. As you can see, it's pretty bare, and it's been bare for a few minutes here in my Stormworks world. And as you can see, we have just about every letter of the alphabet. And I'll have to give a shout out to the guy that actually created this like letter scrolling thing here. I'll put their name on the screen right now. But what I've done, I've actually programmed it so you can type in whatever you want. So I called the vehicle the SRG. So we hit SR and G, then G. Where's that V? Sadly, I didn't put any numbers into this, but I guess if I wanted to, I could do that later on. But all we have to do is hit set, and now we have the SRG GV. It's the SRG GV30 apparently right now. But, you know, if we want to put our own name in there real quick, I think you guys get the gist right here. All right, I've slapped Storm in there, hit set, and we have Storm on our license plate. I just love this cool little design. And not only does it do the rear one, but since my state mandates you have one on the front end as well, I did put a license plate on the front end. So yeah, that is a really cool little design feature I added in. A couple other things, you can turn the blinkers off if you want, and we do have hazard lights. And that's just because I didn't put them in the buttons for the seat. I don't know why, but it was cool to have a little button down there. And the blinkers are actually something I'm pretty proud of with this as well. It didn't take half as long as the license plate, but as you can see when we turn right here, excuse me, the blinkers blink 1, 2, turning left 1, 2, but I did the full 3-stage on the back end here, kind of like an old styled muscle car, I guess, with the 3 different stages or 3 different lights. And, you know, it's a pretty cool little feature onto it. So, and of course, if you want hazards, you can turn your hazards on and they will blink just like that to tell people, I don't know, run out of gas or something. And you can turn the blinkers off altogether. Note, it will still blink on this little screen in front of you, but the blinkers aren't working on the exterior of the vehicle. All right. That's just about all I've got to talk about. It's got that easy WASD control when you're driving around in automatic mode. So you hit W, it'll fly forward, hit S, it'll stop till you come to a full stop, and then it'll go into reverse here. And then hitting W again, you'll fly back forward. You know, A and D is your steering. I did also add a control into steering where the faster you go, the more it kind of trims the steering. It decreases the steering angle, so it should give you a better angle to steer here. So as you can see, we're going a little bit faster. I know we're starting to slide, but let me get it up to a good speed. That's 100. At 100, it barely turns those wheels. Because it can't, I mean, even a real life car can't really do a turn at 100 something miles an hour. So you got to give it a little bit slower speed to make that turn. Other features on the car, it does have a handbrake, but it's not the kind of drifting handbrake you're thinking about. It's just a manual one. If you want to leave it running and you want it to sit in park here, basically, you can just turn the handbrake on. Or you can leave the handbrake on if you're parked on a hill. It activates the actual parking brakes and the brakes. So not only does turning off the car activate those parking brakes, but now you have both brakes locked there. So yeah, if that confuses anyone. And the third is manual headlights. And you may be thinking, Storm, what do you mean manual headlights? The headlights, what are they, automatic? Yes, they are. So all it uses is a clock built into the car. But if we slide this little guy all the way down to nighttime, as you can see now, me not pressing anything, the lights will turn on and off. As you can see, on, off, on, off, so on and so forth, which is pretty cool. If we speed up the day-night duration, you can see it happen pretty well here. And there are the lights. I know I was silent for a second or two, but I just love that. And I do have the RGB lights on the back end as well, so when you hit those brakes, it has not only the running lights that it's got right now, but the lights get brighter when you hit the brakes. And then you got little reverse lights. Looks like I do need to fix the clutch for going into reverse, but small little problems here and there. But okay, let's turn it back to daytime. So I'll hit that parking brake just to stop me and set it to a good old daytime. I don't know why I switched the day-night duration. All right. And you guys may be wondering, what's the top speed of this thing? Because that's something I talked about a fair bit. This being the SRG GV30, it's got a top speed of around 130 miles an hour. It does take a little while to get there because that last gear just needs to give a lot of power to push through that sixth gear. But eventually it'll get up to about 130 right there. And I talked about the SRG GV30, and that's something I'm going to pull out of the garage right now. That one has a top speed of 19 in first gear, hitting about 40 in second. We got 70 in third. Oh, taking off 120, 130 in fourth, almost 140 in fourth. 150. Dropping into sixth. We're getting up to about its top speed of 160 miles an hour. I'm going to drop it back into drive to take the turn. Oh, come on, give me a little bit more power. There it is. Thing's pretty darn quick. If I had to do a lap in any of the vehicles, I definitely would take out the SRG GV30 here, which is a fun vehicle. I did make a GV50 version that can hit 159 miles an hour and, stages off overheating by like another mile or so. But for something I was going to drop onto the workshop, I was just going to go with a 30 RPS model there, so nobody really complains about it overheating. And I'm going to drive this around. I'll show you guys all one of the warning symbols we have here, which is actually the overheating symbol. A couple miles down the road, we're going to get a pretty high heat on that engine here because it is the 60 RPS model, but this thing just goes. I love driving this thing around. So it is a little bit touchy on the throttle because you hit W and the thing flies. It slides around a lot because, I don't know, Stormworks doesn't really like putting power to the ground for vehicles. I did try yet again with this vehicle to do wing configurations, but it seemed like weight is the biggest factor to be able to get any traction with some wheels here. So yeah, it does have a ton of weight on this vehicle, and that's the big secret behind it. If you guys wanted to know how this thing, you know, takes some decent turns at 70, 100 miles an hour sometimes, it just has a ton of weight, and that's the secret behind the gray paint as well, because you guys all know that the gray blocks, or excuse me, not the gray blocks, the weight blocks have that little gray piece on them. I've just hidden the gray with the gray paint here, so it's the exact same shade as the weight block. I'll show you guys in a second when I come back in, but I'm gonna get this thing to overheat real quick. Come on, temperature gauge is, nope, there's the temperature gauge. And one of the best things, the engine controller by this designer right here, I'm flashing on screen, actually added in a safeguard for the modular engine. So when you do overheat the engine, it'll start decreasing RPS. There are a couple other options for the engine when it does overheat that you can choose on the microcontroller that controls the modular engine, but I just chose the one that starts decreasing RPS while it cools it down. So yeah, another big problem was the automatic gearbox would have to be changed when the engine overheated, and that's something else I didn't want to do really, because usually when it throttles the RPS here, that little microcontroller, it drops it down to about 31 RPS, and that's where I got the 30 RPS number, because it never seemed to overheat when it dropped it down to that 30 RPS number. And revealing my little magic trick by replacing the color here, if we make it just a full white car, you can see how many little panels I've dropped into some weight blocks here. And you may be asking, Storm, if you want it to be so heavy, why aren't just all of the blocks weight blocks? Well, there's just a little bit of logic blocks in here. If I can remember, there's a selection component. A lot of the large panels here, there, and everywhere are just big microcontroller blocks that I needed to add in. And basically the entire trunk is a gas tank as well, with weird little angles here, there, and everywhere. So yeah, gives you about 300, 400 liters, I believe, which gets you a good distance. I think it'll get 30 or 40 miles on the gas tank, if I remember correctly. That actually might be the 40 or 50 model. This might get even more. One of the final things I'm going to kind of complain about, I guess, no better term to say other than complain, is once you take this thing off of a completely flat terrain, that slam suspension just doesn't really help anyone. You hit an angle too hard somewhere and the thing does that weird Stormworks 180. I'm going to try to replicate it on video, but it might take me a minute or two to get it, so I'll just flash to then. Alright, come on. Oh, there's one. It just bottomed out and it just spun instead of just doing damage or anything. I do have vehicle damage off though, so that would have just caused a bunch of damage to the bottom end of the car there, and I probably wouldn't be driving because of all the logic built in here. Come on. Maybe I just need to put the pedal to the metal here. I'm gingerly doing 60 down this road. Make it do its full 130. There's another hit. It's just such a low hanging car here, a low riding car, low riding vehicle here. Oh, there's one of the Stormworks 180s that I was looking for. It's just a little annoying because I can't really drive it on these roads because it bottoms out here, there, and everywhere. And even with the suspension on full, kind of messing up that cool, sleek, modern, low riding design, it still hit bumps here, there, and everywhere. So I can't even fix the problem by pushing the suspension. Maybe it decreased the amount of times it happens, but the problems still happen pretty frequently. So of course, if you guys do want to play around with this vehicle in your own worlds, you can pick it up in that workshop link down below in that description. But of course, if you guys did like this, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel to stay up with Stormworks and more of my content. But I've been great. Goodbyes. My people need me, and I need to go.